Today we're going to talk about trade cards that can sell for more than a house does. Hey, it's Don. Today we're going to talk about trade cards that can sell for some major bucks, and I'm talking 100,000 or more in many cases. These are actual prices that these sorts of items are selling for on eBay right this very minute. We're going to look at the very top one, the one that sells for the most right now. Now, with trading cards, most people assume that sports cards go for the most amount of money. Now, I'm not going to count this first one on here that sold for $1.3 million. I don't know if that's a real legit sale or not. It could be. It's hard to say. Some of those oddball ones sometimes do sell for some monster prices, but that just seems to be a non-legit one. The rest of these all seem to have sold for less than $250,000. Again, that may sound crazy to some people, but that's prices that some certain cards get depending on the condition and how many in that condition are available. But this isn't what we're talking about today. These aren't the most expensive cards right this very second. Pokemon cards can sell for some insane amounts of money as well. Now, we've talked about Pokemon cards in the past, and I have a few videos that cover cards such as that. There are some differences in here. Many people don't realize versions and things like that. Grading is huge on these as well. The specific company that graded it can also be more valuable if it's a certain company over another one as well. These are legit prices for these sorts of items, for these rare cards in mint primo condition. The higher the grade, the better they are, the more they are worth. Pokemon cards, though, are still not more expensive than the sports cards we already looked at. The number one that I find, though, is Magic the Gathering cards. They far outweigh anything else. You can sell a couple of these that would get you enough money to buy a house with. Now, I get people telling me these prices aren't legit on some of these. Now, I'm sure some prices in here people didn't pay and things like that, and they had to relist it and things like that. But these cards, some of these cards in here are actually in the price guide at $100,000 or better in many cases. We're going to show you a few sites in just a few moments here that you can use to help identify the versions, the styles, what set, whether it's alpha, beta, and the whole works, the cards came from. We'll also show you a price guide site that will show you the values on them, whether they're up, down, which cards to look at, which cards to buy, which cards to sell, and the whole works. The sites are very good, they're up to date, and they follow along with the patterns and the pricing that I see. But these are the most expensive cards on eBay. These far outweigh most every sport that I see. Usually a PSA 10 on these cards goes for some insane amounts of money, most all of the time. Now, the most expensive card out of the entire set is the Black Lotus card. The Black Lotus is something that has more power than anyone else. This is from the Power 9 set, which are 9 specific cards. This one, basically, you can cast this card, do some actions, and end up killing your opponent in one swift move without them being able to challenge or do anything with it. This card is very important. This is like the holy grail of the entire deck. This was only printed in the first 3 set releases, so Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited have one of these in it. There are sites that just talk about this card as well, too. This one here is listed as being sold for $250,000. I can't find anywhere else where the card was relisted that I can see, nor do I see any other ones of this exact copy. So this one may have actually sold for that price. Again, this card books for $100,000 or more in the price guides right this very second. Now, there are other cards, obviously, that are worth some money, too. You can see some for $18,000, $20,000, $15,000. But the Black Lotus is always at the top of the list. There is no other card that I know of that can get you the money like that quickly. Even a later pressing or later version of the card still sells for some insane amounts of money. Now, they do show up if you can still find them. Knowing the difference, though, is always key to something like this. Even worn, even in not so great condition, they still will sell for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Sometimes even more than that, into the thousands, even in worn, used, beat up condition. Now, Magic the Gathering came out in 1993. It wasn't hugely popular when it first came out, but it has steadily grown since then and gathered a cult following of sorts to it. Now, big business actually invests in things like this, quality cards and things like that. That's what's driving the price on some of these too. Now, here's a site that you can use for prices. It's mtgprice.com. Literally, mtgprice.com. And it's going to list the prices of many of these cards. And as you can see right here, Black Lotus, the Alpha, $100,000, just over $100,000. Since the last check, it went up $331. Now, last year, one of those cards sold for $164,000, a confirmed sale. The $250,000 sale we looked at just a few moments ago beats that by quite a bit. So the card is steadily on the rise. Now, those are outlier prices. The card we looked at, too, was signed, and it was a 10, a PSA 10. The best condition card you can get. It was just like it was printed and then slabbed immediately after that. Other versions of the card usually rank around 9.5 or less. That is one of the only 10 grades I have ever seen in my life on that card, hence the massive amount of money it sold for. $250,000 is enough for you to buy a house with. You could have that card laying around in a stack. You could still find it at garage sales. Parents, and even the kids who played the game back in the 90s, may not have a clue it is worth that kind of money. That is why they still tend to show up, and you will still find them on eBay. Plus the fact that there's a massive amount of people that religiously play that game still to this day right now. This site is a wealth of information if you haven't seen it. It also talks about price drops and such forth as well. It lists all sorts of cards down to ones that only run for a few dollars. You can see some at some point were selling for $1,000 and they've dropped down to $1.61. They lost $998 in value. So if you pay attention to these numbers while you're doing this, you can make some big money just by swapping and buying the cards. There are businesses that just make their living off of trading, selling, producing, and running Magic the Gathering games and tournaments. It is a huge, massive industry. Probably the biggest card industry that I know of for these vintage and used cards is Magic the Gathering. So again, this is mtgprice.com. Now, another great site is abugames.com, abugames.com, and they have a lot of stuff in there. The site also has a section on Magic the Gathering, how to tell the editions, how to tell which set the cards came in. This is one of the better sites out there to help you identify which version, which edition of the cards you have, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, or whichever set you may have. And it goes into fairly good detail, how to tell base or core sets and things like that too. It's got most of them. It tells you which symbol means what. All the terminology on the bottoms, the foils, everything is on this page here. If you're into Magic, you probably know about this site or another site that's just like this. If you're not into this area, this site is essential for you to be able to ID and identify the edition of the cards that you have. The edition can mean the difference between, say, a $1,000 card or a $20,000 card. Those numbers are real, and they're realistic based on the edition the cards were printed in. These cards are still out there. I still find massive quantities. One place, though, I do not buy cards from are stores of any kind because most of the time they are picked through. I'm also very careful in buying them from posted ads. I always try to buy that sort of thing from individuals who used to collect them back in the day. Well, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.